If this evil thing were a Trump supporter, if this evil thing had MAGA hat, or had been a follower of Nick Fuentes or anything, they would have said, aha, aha, aha. Another right winger, another evil person, another. This is exactly what they would say. This is exactly what they would say. They would say this is another evil person, another evil doer, another. But now the radical left is doing everything in their power, everything, to basically come up with this idea that, well, it's just it's not what you think. The fact that he's trans, they're saying no, he's not trans. In fact, Grok and others are coming out of the woodwork saying, well, it's not really trans. He's trans. I don't know what the big deal is. Why aren't they owning this? I don't understand this. It blows my mind. Accept responsibility. This is exactly what it was. What exactly are we supposed to take from this? Think about this for a moment. We all know that it is axiomatic for us to say that the people who are quote mental ill, for the most part, they're not violent. Okay. And then when you say, well, the majority of the people who are trans or transitional or whatever you want to do it, that they're not violent either. But here's the problem, which is the most interesting with all this. The folks who are themselves transgender, what have you, are so minimal in terms of the entire population. Yet look at the number of people who have been responsible for these types of shootings and these types of death. How can you miss this? Look at the number of people. If there were let's assume there were 3 transgendered people in the nation today, and 2 of them were involved in, let's say, school shootings, that means that 67% of the population is involved in this. So you would have to say, maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's something to it. Ways and areas that we don't know. Maybe it's because of the hormone treatments. Maybe it's because of other attendant psychological problems. Maybe being like this to begin with is crazy. Maybe it is nuts. But I'm going to tell you something. Be very careful. Don't fall into this Charlie Kirk, who calls him psychotic. He's not psychotic. It doesn't really matter. I was kind of mood at this particular point, but don't call these people psychotic. Don't give them the opportunity to claim a defense, an insanity defense. This is, you want to call it evil, call it evil. Call it whatever you want. But this is something which goes beyond anything we've ever seen before. It blows our mind. And what you have to do, and I have to do, and everybody has to realize is very simply this. There's something about these people that are demented and dangerous, and we have to do something about this. Absolutely, 100%. Now, in addition to what I said this morning, as far as fortifying these schools, call it for what it is. If there was a drug that was making people crazy, if there was something that if there was a vaccine that was making people crazy, if there was a dye that made people act, we would want to know what it is. Well, why is there such a high propensity? Why is there such a high number of people who are involved in this type of activity who happen to be trans? You tell me. The ball's in your court. You tell me. I don't understand what's happening. All I know is there are people right now who are suffering in ways that are incalculable. And this son of a bitch decides what exactly? I mean, this is because remember today, let's go through this. The sanctuary of the Annunciation Catholic Church in South Minneapolis went from a place of worship where people go and feel safe into a crime scene by this sick bastard who decided he, she, it, whatever, was going to pick this particular day to make some kind of a claim. And during a school-wide mass, when students, teachers, and parents were gathered for morning prayers, this fusillade, this hail of bullets, shattered the stained glass windows. Why? I don't know. because this person happened to make a what? I don't know. Had a bad day. What should have been a moment of reverence and community turned into terror and chaos and absolutely incalculable mourning. When you sent those kids off innocent to go to school, it's horrible. Authorities confirmed that 2 children aged 8 and 10 were killed almost instantly. And this is through the stained glass. 17 others, including 14 children, were wounded in the attack, and their injuries ranged from minor shrapnel wounds to critical gunshot trauma. And by day's end, officials reported that all of the injured were expected to survive, though many would carry scars, physical and emotional, for the rest of their lives. Why? Why? Now, I want you to understand something. I've changed my mind a little bit. I wanted in the old days not to mention the names of people. I thought, you know what we should do is make them anonymous. No, and I changed my mind. No. I want you to know who these people were. And if you think this is ignominy, or excuse me, if you think this is some kind of elevation of status, then you're sick. But it's some 23-year-old freak named Robin Westman, okay? And it brought the attack to an end by turning the gun on himself. A coward. Why? What was the point? What was the point of this? Police recovered multiple firearms at the scene, a rifle, a shotgun, and a handgun, all of which he had legally purchased. Which anybody can legally purchase. Anybody can do this. There was nothing special about these guns, nothing particularly assault worthy. They're just guns that you may have or I may have. But they're, of course, going to blame the radical left is going to blame the gun, not this son of a bitch. That's the part that makes no sense. Now, investigators are also uncovering writings and drawings and digital content pointing to premeditation, of course. And the FBI announced that the shooting would be investigated not only as an act of mass violence, but as a potential hate crime. Oh, here we go. And an incident of domestic terrorism, given the Catholic target and Westman's documented obsessions with past mass shootings. Okay, to an extent. It's moot. He's dead. I don't know what you want to call it. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. Domestic terrorism, urban terrorism, hate crime, doesn't really matter. Now, little is yet publicly known about the 2 children who lost their lives for no reason. Out of respect for their families, officials have withheld their names, though classmates are going to be, or describe them as cheerful and full of life and happy and just kids. And parents emerged from the scene clutching their children, many covered in blood, as first responders established a triage outside the school. One father said his son survived only because he had broken his arm the week before and was home resting. That single twist of fate, that single little change may have saved his life. And don't forget, some of the sick bastards in our group, you know it, somebody's going to come forward and claim crisis actors. And you know this is coming. I'm telling you, get ready for this. Oh, they're going to blame SSRIs and this 5G and radiation and all kinds of stuff. You want to blame? Go ahead, blame. Blame what? Hormone treatments, non-treatments? I don't know what. But the 17 injured, including students as young as 6 and as old as 15, along with 3 adults. At the Hennepin County Medical Center, doctors work into the night treating wounds. Minneapolis police confirmed that at least 2 children were in critical condition initially, but all were stabilizing. Thank God for that. And for the families of these poor people, the families of the 2 dead, agony. Agony was unrelenting. Why? Priests from the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis rushed to console grieving parents at a church, offering last rites, blessings, and prayers in the very church where their lives had been taken. It is beyond horrible. So who was this sick bastard, this Robin Westman? Well, the shooter, Robin M. Westman, was a Minneapolis native with ties to Annunciation Catholic School. They're calling her. his, her, its, whatever mother once worked as a secretary at the school, and records indicate that this person may have attended briefly as a child. That connection has raised questions about whether the attack was perhaps maybe deeply personal rather than random. Who knows? But watch her doing this her business. Westman reportedly left behind writings and online videos that displayed a fascination with past mass killers. Okay. And one chilling video recorded just minutes before the assault, this thing was said to be manically giggling while showing off weapons. Investigators are combing through digital evidence, and they're gonna find all. There's gonna be Trump stuff and Catholic about the Israel about this, and you're gonna say, aha. Therefore, anybody who particularly believes this nonsense is that way of thinking somehow is the proponent of this. No, that's wrong. No, because a lot of people take all of the particular things that this thing thought, and they never did this. You can be pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-Zionism, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, or whatever it is, pro-Christian, and not do this. So any particular idea that you try to associate with them is a waste of time. Okay? So just stop wasting your time with this nonsense. And the recovered weapons are going to be looking for further insight into the motive. The motive. Who gives a shit about the motive? Why do people care about the motive? I've been telling you this for years. We care about intent. Good. What if I give you a motive? The motive was it's a Wednesday. That's the motive. Does that help anything? Okay, you got your motive. So adding fuel to the media narratives, he had recently identified as transgender. A fact that has already been exploited in political discourse. That's right. Look at the did you see Mia Farrow? Mia Farrow's blaming MAGA or something for this, as usual. The lieutenant governor has a t-shirt. I don't know if this is true, showing a knife and a trans. I mean, commentators and people on the left and the right immediately began spinning the tragedy, some framing it as an example of the dangers of toxic online gun culture, while others pointed to his gender identity as a factor. Gee, do you think? Let's see. There's about 1.1 or 1.2 million. No. There's one or two. So we have about 350 million people in this country. There's about 500 million guns. 500 million. 500 million guns among 350 million people. This doesn't happen at all. But let's look at all the number of transgenders. Take all that number and just reduce it into nothing. And out of that group, look at the number of people who were involved in school shootings. Schools in particular. What's with this? What's going on here? Think about this. What if I told you there are few people who have a half a mustache, people who shave their mustache in half. And of that group, out of the 10 people, 5 are school shooters. What does that tell you? Statistically, what does that tell you? What does this tell you? What are you, stupid? Am I missing the point here? Am I supposed to say, no, it's not, no. Really? Law enforcement, however, has been cautious. And who was it? I think it was the chief of police who said, well, we don't really know about a motive. He said it. Do you not believe him? Because everybody's so worried about, stepping on toes. Enough of that. Do you like this country? Do you know what's happened? You talk about the gun culture. Well, there's this sick culture, this idea that gender and who you are is a transactional thing. It's transitional. It doesn't matter. You can say whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can say whatever. There's no such thing as definitive, as right or wrong, as male or female. But the idea, if you want to change, fine, do it yourself. But it's become a theater. It's become performative. It's become lunacy. And I'm all for sticking to the evidence and not drawing premature conclusions, but ask yourself a question. What would these sick bastards say if he was pro-Trump? what do you think they would have done? It would have been, they would have probably impeached Trump again. Show no mercy to these people. Show no mercy. The Minneapolis PD, aided by federal agents, it is reported, arrived within minutes of the first emergency call. And officers entered the school despite uncertainty about whether the gunman was there. Thank God. Remember the Uvalde? Remember those cops who wouldn't go in? Remember those? This is a different story. Witnesses described the bravery of officers who shielded children with their own bodies, evacuated classrooms, and guided the wounded to safety. There's a lot of tough people out there, real heroes. Paramedics established a field triage on the church lawn, tending to bleeding children as parents arrived in panic. Just imagine that. Multiple survivors have credited the speed of police and EMT response with saving lives. And in a rare moment of unity, even critics of Minneapolis law enforcement, whatever that is, acknowledged the professionalism of the first responders. Later on, the FBI announced that it was treating the crime, here we go, as a dual investigation, one focused on domestic terrorism, the other on hate crimes. What does that matter? I'm just curious, Kash Patel. It's moot. What does that matter? The person's dead. Authorities are scrutinizing whether Westman's attack was motivated by anti-Catholic animus, given that they keep saying he deliberately targeted a religious service attended by children, or this guy just a sick, whatever. There's the political and the public reaction. No, the massacre, of course, and that's what it was, prompted waves of grief and outrage across the country. Archbishop Bernard Hebda of the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis held a press conference. His voice was shaking as he described the attack as a sacrilegious assault on faith, family, and innocence. And vigils were sprang up all across Minneapolis by evening, with hundreds gathering to light candles and pray for these poor children. Mayor Jacob Frey, Frey, spoke bluntly at his press conference, declaring that thoughts and prayers were not enough. His comments echoed nationally, sparking debates over whether ritual condolences have become hollow. Governor Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, Mr. Jazz Hands, called the attack pure evil, while President Trump ordered flags flown at half-staff and extended condolences on behalf of the nation. Pope Francis issued a message of solidarity, praying for the victims and condemning the violence. So that's usual. And predictably, the political divide surfaced immediately. Advocates of stricter gun laws pointed to the case and pointed to the ease with which Westman legally obtained her arsenal. Really? Second Amendment defenders argued that the tragedy reflected failures of mental health interventions and cultural decay, not firearms policy. And the mayor's invocation of transgender rights, oh yes, during the press conference, further fueled the controversy. These people can't leave shit alone. You know that? Critics were absolutely going crazy, accusing him of politicizing the event. Would you people stop it? Would you get your head out of your ass and realize that not everything is a political statement? Sometimes they're just sick people doing sick things. We don't need this. We don't need this on any side. Now is not the time for me to make a Second Amendment. If they had pulled a truck and ran it in and ran people over. Like, remember that one time, what was that one place where this sick bastard ran people over? Cars. Minneapolis still scarred from the unrest and the division following the death of that no-good fentanyl drug addict thug, George Floyd, who had people crazy. He's again found himself at the epicenter of national debates. By the way, is anybody rioting over the loss of these kids? Anybody? I know a lot of the looters might want to. Anybody thinking it's a good idea to, can I do that? Can I claim that this is an attack of transgenders against? They claimed it was racism. The George Floyd people said it was the attack of white people and white cops and white America and this and MAGA. Can I do that? Can I come along around and say that that's exactly what this is? Tell me why I can't. Tell me why I can't. This goes to show you how sick these people are. You know, this city has endured years of tension between police and residents. And gee, how does this help? Yet this shooting, they say, highlighted the indispensable role of police officers. No shit. Pardon my French. I'm sorry, I'm furious. While some residents remained skeptical of the police department, all right, few could deny that officers saved lives this morning. Remember what that Officer Chauvin did. Remember what Officer Chauvin did when he stepped on the head or the neck of George Floyd, who died because of a drug overdose. Who died because of a drug overdose. What was that? Who died because of a drug overdose, not because of any police overreaction. He died because of a drug overdose because he was a thug and a criminal and a drug addict. That's what happened. Remember that Michael, what's his name? Michael Gardner. He died of a heart attack. And they put this country through hell because of that sick bastard that they killed, who was a nothing. He was vermin. I'm not saying anybody deserves to die of a death of an overdose. But what happened was that police officer was pilloried and he followed the rules. If there's anybody at fault, it should be the people who told him, go ahead and do that. And when they asked him, where did you get that idea? It looked bad. I know people didn't like that idea because it was a bad optics. But guess what? When you elect these people, oh, don't give me that bullshit about, I can't breathe. I've watched so many videos of these Karen types getting arrested. And by the way, if you want to see complete depravity and the collapse of law and order, just watch these. But everybody who gets arrested, what's the first thing they do? They say, I can't breathe. You can't breathe? Why are you talking to me? I can't breathe. If you can't breathe, you can't talk. This is a weird. And then they're asking, how did a 23-year-old with documented obsessions about mass killers obtain and plan such an attack? What do you think this is? What do you think it takes to do this? Could anyone have intervened? They're asking. You know how easy it is? If I want to live in this sense of grandiose, hyper-aggrandized sense of behavior, and I decide that I'm going to go after some poor kid or some family, I don't need any special plans to do this. I don't need anything special for me to bring this about. It's simple. What is this? I've got 3 weapons, a shotgun, a handgun, and a rifle. Okay. And I'm going to go to this church. Okay. And I'm going to shoot through the glass. Okay. What do you think this is? What is this, the Great Train Robbery? What kind of planning do you think this needs? What? And isn't it funny? Isn't it funny, yet again, the de minimis number of people in the population who happen to be trans, yet the population of these people who happen to make up such a huge swathing contingent of shooters, it's incredible. Michael says, this was a terrorist from the barbaric Be Kind religion. This was a terrorist from the barbaric Be Kind religion. I don't know what that means, but I thank you. It takes nothing to do this, by the way. Nothing. No particular training, no particular exercise in anything special. And stop saying people like Charlie Kirk. Charlie, lay off this. Don't say you were psychotic. You don't know psychotic if it bit you on the ass. He's not hearing voices. He's not psychotic. He's not schizoaffective. He's not any of that. Stop saying this. Stop using that word like the word psychopath, like the word socialist. They use these words all the time. You have no idea what they mean. But they mean something. They mean something specifically. They mean something, honest to God, specifically there. But the part that I don't understand, the part that I find to be the most problematic of all, is how people are not looking at these people. If I were to be on a drug, let's say I'm on a type of drug, this Kush or Zap or Zook or Duke or some name of something, and I take it. Remember that? Who was here? Remember when they were taking remember Remember, honey, they were taking not aquarium. What was it? They were eating people's faces off. What was it? They would go into stores and buy this stuff. It was like it was K, but it was something else. It was like it was used as it was an incense or something. You would bath salts. You took these bath salts and they went and they did this. So what did they do? They said, it's the bath salts, right? It's the bath salts. Makes sense to me, doesn't it? He ate the bath salts, went in and chewed somebody's face off. Okay, fine. This guy goes through, is transgender, either announces it. Was he under any kind of treatment at the time? Do we know? We don't know that. We don't know that. You know who he looks like in one picture? That kid from Mask. Robbie, Robbie Dennis, or he looks exactly like. It's very, very eerie. Okay, but aside from that, and I don't want to make fun of how people look necessarily. It's what he did. It's what he did. But you mean to tell me that I, as a criminologist or as somebody who's trying to figure out cause and effect, I'm saying, do you think maybe the fact that this particular type of behavior, which some people consider to be functionally nuts, might have played a role in it when such a de minimis faction of society end up being, This is something I do not grasp. And I will tell you this much, my friends, and I'm sorry to say this, but the gloves are off. I'm tired of asking permission to grieve, to be angry, to point the finger. I am tired of this. I'm tired of having to be careful to watch what I say. Don't hurt any feelings. Don't step on any toes. Be careful with what you say. Watch what you say. Don't hurt anybody. Watch what they do. You see what I'm saying? I'm sick of it. And I hope that this president and these Republicans understand. You've got an attack against a group of people. This represents this demented, crazy, not clinically crazy, not organically crazy, but this lunatic, evil, radical left that is a part of all of this. So what's it going to be, America? The president's got to be up front, and you've got to start asking yourselves, what is with this behavior? What is with this one? This is not somebody who was just wanting to wear a dress. This is something that seems to follow these people and exhibit itself in this demented, dangerous behavior. Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? There's something really, really, really frightening about this. So what are we going to do about it? What's President Trump? Let me tell you what the president, what if the Republicans don't jump on this the way the Democrats would, I don't know what to tell you. If this guy were some MAGA supporter, they'd own this story. But what do? Nothing. We don't do anything. We don't say anything. We're careful. Kash Patel, he's walking around with his thumb up his ass saying, well, I'm going to decide whether I should, is this a terrorist order? So who cares? What are you doing? You see the way they are? There should be a task force. They should go after and start to say, of the past 25, 30, go down the list. Spend time. Ladies and gentlemen. Have you seen this? Have you followed any of this? Have you seen any of the stories, any of this, any of the people, any of those involved in this insanity? Have you listened to or watched? See look at how shifts behind this. This is nuts. We didn't have this many school shootings when we had insane asylums. There's something very wrong here. Something demented. Something really crazy. Look at this. Denver school shooter, Devin Erickson, identified as trans. This is Denver school shooter 1. Denver school shooter 2, Maya Alec McKinney, identified as trans. Aberdeen shooter, Sonoitia Mosley, identified as trans. Nashville shooter, Audrey Hale, identified as trans. Uvalde shooter, Salvador Ramos, trans, though unconfirmed. Georgia shooter, Colt Gray, trans, unconfirmed. Iowa shooter, Dylan Butler, identified as gender fluid. Philadelphia shooter, Kim Brady Carricker, identified as trans. Colorado Springs shooter, Anderson Lee Aldrich, identifying as non-binary. You don't see any patterns here? You don't see what's going on here? Seriously, you don't see what's going on here? You need, what do you need? What exactly what do we need? Well, what's it going to be, America? Tell me what it's going to be. We're going to sit around and just talk about this? Is that it? Is that it? We're just going to sit around and say, whoa, that's terrible then. Yeah, boy, these trans people are pretty wild. Yeah. Oh, might be SSRIs. I don't know. Might be that Wi-Fi. Might be that 5G. Might be the dye in the Fruit Loops. Might be the vaccines. Might be COVID. Might be this. Might be the schools. Might be the decline of the family. Might be the fact that there's no God anymore. That we don't have God. Everybody, great. Go ahead. Tell me what it is. Tell me. Tell me. Can you honestly think, does this make sense to you? Is there one reason for this? Can you point to anything? I don't have to point to anything. I don't have to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? And I can tell right away, if you think this is guns, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. If you think this is guns, if that's your thing, I don't know what to tell you. I can tell right now you know nothing about critical thinking. You have no ability to analyze. And if that's your take, anybody who tells you, it tells you right off the bat, they don't know what they're talking about. So what's it going to be? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? The U.S. has more guns than people, with estimated ranging from 400 to 500 million civilian-owned firearms as of 2024. This translates to about 1.5 guns per U.S. citizen, including children, and about 2 guns per adult. Now, we have 340 million. Do you think it's guns? Do you think it's guns? Do you think it's guns? Who thinks it's guns? Who? 500,000 guns, 340 million people, and we have just a smattering of this. But of that smattering, the number who are trans and non-binary and fluid, what does that tell you? Go ahead, tell me. Tell me it's the guns. I think it's the non-binary or the trans or whatever it is, because that's who these people are. If you found out that all of a sudden 9 out of 10 of the shooters just took the Omicron strain of the COVID, whatever, and you said, wow, they all have that in common? Yep. Now let's assume they also have other things in common, like they drive a car. This isn't driving a car. What's it going to be? I'm asking you, what's it going to be? What are you going to do? Don't do what I think you're going to do. Forget about this. What Americans do is they forget about it. They go, whatever. I don't know. Hey, what's on TV? Hey, let's talk about Cracker Barrel some more. You want to talk about Cracker Barrel? Let's talk about Cracker Barrel. That's fun. Let's talk about race. This stuff is okay. Mr. President, you must have a task force. You must address this. You must be asking Bobby Kennedy, Marty McCary, ask your medical team, is there something about Are they taking hormones? Are they taking SSRIs? Is there something about these people? How can this one group of people show an inordinate amount or represent a population of this many people who are involved in it? I ask you, don't let this happen. Please let us don't reduce ourselves to just bullshit where we just sit around and talk about nothing with this mental masturbation where we yammer and talk about stuff and if outlaws had guns, please do something. And you know what? We need the president to do something. We need Kash Patel, maybe that dumbass Dan Bongino to get off his ass and do something. And just see Trey Gowdy, what he's talking about guns. It's not about guns. It's not about guns. Do you understand that? I've hit critical mass. I've hit critical mass. All right. That's what we are. Make sure you listen tonight to me on WABC. I've got one of the best you're going to have. I have an FBI agent who is going to produce one of the best, her name is Jen Coffindaffer. Jen Coffindaffer. It's a good name. She is one of the best. We're going to be talking about what's going on, about what this is really all about. That's on WABC, 77 WABC. Can you listen? Would you listen? Can I count on you? Are you going to promise me you're not going to let this go? Are you going to promise me you're going to call maybe your local officials, your congressman, senator, to say do something and investigate this? Would you please do me a favor? Would you please do it? Would you do yourself? Please, I'm asking you, honestly, don't let this go away. Please don't fall. Don't do the usual thing where you say, well, I don't know. What can I do? I'm kind of busy. Please, let's make this our issue. Because I'm going to tell you one more time. If this were a Trump, if this were a MAGA person, you would never hear the end of it. You understand what I'm saying? You would never hear the end of it. All right, my friends. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. And Michael, thank you. Johnny Maz is fast as Lionel, just an old school retired New York City police officer from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. The FBI seems to be involved in every police matter nowadays. The local police are pushed aside. Here, Johnny Maz. Here. You are right about that. All right, dear friends. Listen, thank you. Let's don't forget this. Remember, hold these people accountable and find out why is such a small group of people responsible for so many shootings. Okay? Okay? Okay. All right, my friends. You have a great and glorious night. Don't forget, tonight, 1 a.m., WABC, 770 a.m. Go to my, what am I saying? My X account. You can see how to get the app and all that. All right? That's tonight. It's going to be great. All right, my friends. God love you. If you pray for those poor family members and find out what we're going to do. But let's get these bastards. And let's not let this opportunity go by. Let's pounce on it. And let's answer the questions that nobody wants to answer. Okay? Or ask. All right, dear friends. We'll talk to you then. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. That.